We are doing franchise mode. New York Jets. Just to give a little backdrop, so far the Jets this offseason, they signed Tyrod Taylor. He just switches locker rooms. Morgan Moses, Tyron Smith, John Simpson. That's all on the offensive side. They re-signed Greg Zerlin, Thomas Morstead, Javon Kinlaw on the defensive line, Leaky Fotu on the defensive line. So far, that's been what they've done with the signing of Isaiah Oliver also at cornerback. Now the Jets have not been in the playoffs for a little bit. Whoever wants to go.
That's a little bit. What's a little bit?
No, it's been like
When was the last time?
13 years, maybe.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Miles, you can start
That's a
off.
rough one.
Let me know, Miles. You can start off. What are the three things that the Jets need to do to be in playoff contention again?
Well, we've got to keep Aaron Rodgers upright. I mean, that was the biggest thing, biggest downfall this past season was, right off the bat, it felt like he was under pressure. I think that's all he ever knew this past year was pressure. Even in the preseason, it was an issue. But they did a lot to kind of fix those issues. I mean, we got Elijah Vera Tucker coming back off of injury. He'll be at right guard. We got Morgan Moses, who was one of the best right tackles in football last year. And then we bring in the All Pro Tyron Smith to fill out the left side along with the left guard that we signed. So I think the line is shaping up nicely. I mean, the only thing is we need to get some depth behind them. So maybe we sign like a Bakhtiari as a third tackle just in case, because I mean Tyron Smith's missed games, so it's a gamble. You know, we are not able to get a caliber player like this for the price that we paid if not for all the injuries. So I mean, it's a blessing, but also you got to be nervous a little bit. Um, we need more weapons. We can't roll with Lazard as the number two. Garrett Wilson is a stud. I mean, 2,000-yard seasons to start his career. Clearly, I mean, if we had Aaron Rodgers, he would have gone crazy this past year. But playing with Zach Wilson and company didn't really help that. And I think the other receivers didn't help him either. So he was getting double teamed a little more than we would have liked. So maybe they address it at number 10, maybe in free agency or trade. Like T. Higgins is still out there. Let's see if they go after somebody like that. Or I know they're meeting Mike Williams on Monday, and he might come on like a 1-year deal, incentive laden deal that, he's another guy who's injured a lot. So a lot of gambles that they're taking this offseason, which, I mean, Joe Douglas, he's fighting for his job, so I get it. You got to gamble with some of these players and hope that they hit. But in the draft, I mean, if we go receiver, I like Odunze from Washington. But realistically, I mean, we don't want to be up here. We probably won't be up here next year at 10 if everything goes the right way. So they should take another tackle. I would take Fuaga or trade back. I mean, trading back might be the best option for them in the draft at this point, so they could recoup some picks because they lost their second round pick because of the Aaron Rodgers trade. So maybe they move down 7 slots and get a second round pick, and they're able to take maybe not the top tackle on the board, but maybe their fourth or fifth tackle at that slot in the first round, and then go from there. Address receiver, safety, but things are looking really good right now. As long as we keep Aaron Rodgers upright, I think the play calling issues won't be an issue because he'll be the one calling the shots. Like Nathaniel Hackett, he had to really coach these guys last year, and it was a dangerous thing to do because Zach Wilson's had the scaries the last few years, and then you bring in Tim Boyle, who he's more like a practice squad quarterback, and an emergency quarterback at this point. So I think this season's going to be telling. I do think they should take a quarterback, a developmental quarterback in the third, fourth round. Let's see if Penix drops that far. I mean, if we see him dropping in the second round, I would package some of those picks to go up and get him so he can sit behind Rodgers. He'll be the third string. We got Tyrod, but we need to start thinking, have forward thinking with this. We can't expect Rodgers is going to play 3-4 more years when I don't want to say it's a circus already, but like you got his name being thrown around for VP, even though Kennedy would never win the election, but still he would have had to leave. How legitimate that was, we don't know, but the fact that there's always something with this guy, you got to be prepared for him to, even after this season, be like, yo, I'm done. I'm ready to call it quits. I'm moving on. And that would leave us in a terrible position because we'd be right back at square one. So I think they can't blindly follow Aaron Rodgers for the next some odd years. They have to, build the team for what works for him, but also build this team for 5 years from now or 10 years from now because we've got talent. You got Sauce Gardner. I know I'm ranting. They would have, played the music if this is an award show. But we got Sauce Gardner. We got pieces on the line, Quinnen. So we've got talent on this team. But coming around as a collective this season, hopefully injuries don't come back to bite us. It seems to be the common theme every year is injuries. But if this team can stay healthy for a season, watch out. Bills lost a lot of people. Dolphins lost a lot of people. So, the Patriots they're an afterthought at this point. I'm not worried about them. But the Bills and Dolphins, those are our, rivals in the division. And I think with a healthy Rodgers, we can beat those teams. We beat the Bills with Zach Wilson. Look what we can do with a guy who actually knows what he's doing behind center. So that's all I got to say. It was a lot, but yeah, I'm done.
On the outside looking in, Greg, being a Giants fan, but also being a fan of football in general and a student of the game, what would you see are some of the things that you think that the Jets need to do to become a playoff contending team again?
I think the Jets need to go offensive tackle with their first pick in the NFL draft. They need to go like Joe Alt or whoever the top guy is that's left on the board in the top. It's the top 10 pick. I'm pretty sure. I believe. with the top 10 pick. And the reason why I say that is because they signed the old dude. What's his name? Tyrann Smith. Old as hell, right? Constantly tearing biceps and triceps and all that stuff.
He's 33. He's 33. Come on now.
He looks older. He played, and it's not his play. He's a great player. He's obviously been a great player, but it's the injuries. And so I'm getting my insurance right away. I'm getting my left tackle. I'm making a strength of my football team, or what's been a weakness anyways, a strength now by getting Joe Alt, by getting whoever that top offensive tackle is in the draft, and then I go get my wide receiver in round 2. Or maybe even trade up in the round back and trade back up in the round 1, or whatever you want to do to get a wide receiver to someone you love. And I'm getting them later because it's the deepest wide receiver class in years, and it's a great wide receiver class. So I'm just going. That's what I'm doing, right? I'm just gonna make this. I'm gonna address 2 needs, but I'm gonna really address the protection for Aaron Rodgers because Lord knows he ain't gonna be back there running around, extending plays. He's older. You really got to make sure you keep the pocket clean for that guy before he gets hurt again and goes to run for vice president or president of the United States. So you really got to make sure that you keep that guy upright. And so for me, that's what I would do. And I think those 2 moves alone in the draft, if they do that, they'll be a playoff team. Because I think you'll keep Aaron Rodgers clean. You'll add another weapon to the fold, and Mike Williams can just be a nice fancy piece you add to. He's a nice car. You don't got to drive that much, right? You just have him. Maybe if you want to you see the stars on the roof one day, you drive the Wraith or whatever it is, whatever it's called. You got that guy in the tuck, but you have your receivers, your young guys. You can mix in there. Lazard obviously isn't very good. We know that. It was let down. So you got to address receiver. You address both, but you address use a top 10 pick to address the offensive tackle and really strengthen the offensive line. And now you've got this guy out there able to just cook and play good football and see where it takes you. But that's what I would do if I'm the Jets. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I wouldn't go receiver in that first round. I would definitely go tackle first. It's harder to find good tackles than it is to find good wide receivers. So you get more value.
True. I feel
Now
like
you
a
talk.
trade back. My bad, Tom.
Go
One
ahead.
more,
Go
one
ahead.
more thing. I feel like a trade back though, they could still get that tackle, even if you don't get a Joe Alt, who I think still goes higher than that, or a kid from Fashanu from Penn State, or
Mm-hmm.
Tuaga
Mm-hmm.
from Oregon State. I think they could still get someone like Fotanu from Washington, who might not be as good as those guys, but he's still good. He was all Pac-12 this past season. Should be a top 20 pick. So if they're able to trade back to like, let's say 17, 16 with a team that's looking to get up for an edge, or they see a receiver that's falling and they want to jump over a couple teams like the Eagles did the Giants a couple years ago, maybe I see that happen. That's something that could happen. And then we get more picks. But, I mean, Joe Douglas has to nail this draft. So if they stay at 10, I'm fine with it. If they get the best tackle on the board, or if all those tackles at that spot are gone, then you go best player available at that point. Like you can't. Everybody wants to go for a position, but sometimes you don't want to take someone too high, which they might have done last year with Will McDonald. But we'll see this year. I mean, we're going to count on that kid a lot to pick up the slack for Bryce Huff. But yeah.